On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're stepping inside the first homes of three young couples, each one a reflection of their individual styles and stories. In Atlanta, a pair of law school sweethearts have transformed their first home into a sanctuary of resilience and love, filled with classic design and personal meaning. Just across town, a newly engaged couple is shaping their first home together in a 1950s ranch-style home, blending Nancy Meyers' inspired charm with collected treasures and spaces designed for entertaining. And in Fairhope, Alabama, a couple has poured design, vision, and craftsmanship into their first home, creating a timeless space that balances elegance with warmth. This summer, spend the hottest months of the year in style with Homeworthy as we visit the most extraordinary homes around the world. From the sun-soaked shores of the Hamptons to the classic beachfronts of Nantucket to the vibrant courtyards of Morocco, be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy's summer series to make every day feel like a vacation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Lauren and welcome to my Atlanta home. Come on in.
Welcome to our newest Homeworthy series called Our First Home, where we meet young lovebirds who are building their first nest together.
Now we're the Taylors.
We're married.
These couples have both charming love stories and lovely homes.
It just feels great to be not only building a home, but building a life together.
So prepare to be swept off your feet by these incredible pairs and the places they call home. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Lauren Tilashelsky and I am an attorney.
My name is Carter Tilashelsky. I am a real estate closing attorney here in Atlanta.
We are in our townhome in the Morningside neighborhood of Atlanta, Georgia. And our townhome is a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom, really just cute 1,800 square foot home. I'd say it's a newer build. It was built in 2019. It was really builder grade items, kind of just looked like it came straight off of the townhome catalog. And we have worked with all of our hearts in the last 2 years we've been here to make it have a little bit more charm and character.
And we have worked very hard. I'm going to give Lauren most of the credit, but yes, a team effort, right?
Definitely a team effort.
Lauren and I met in the first day of law school, so we actually sat next to each other on the first day of class. Lauren, being the eager beaver that she is, was there probably about an hour before class started. I showed up about 5 minutes beforehand, and the only seat left was one right next to her on the second row. So sat next to her on that first day of class, and the professor went, "Hey, I want to let y'all know these are going to be your seats the rest of the semester." And then we were dating very soon after that and never looked back.
So we are here in our landing. It's the first thing you see when you come into the home. And my jewel of the home, I think, is this Serena and Lily hexagonal light fixture. I have adored this light fixture. I had been coveting it for forever, but I didn't covet the price tag. So I was very excited when we found it on Facebook Marketplace. Gonna be a common theme throughout the house. For a fraction of the price, pick up at 20 minutes from here. And so I think this was the first investment we made when we moved into this home. There was no light fixture here originally, and I just wanted something that was a true statement that everyone saw when they came into our space. Now let's head into the powder room. So now we are here in our powder room. This was another first touch-up fun project that we did in this house. I really wanted a fun powder room wallpaper. I love a wallpaper, but For both cost and just taste perspective, Carter is not a big wallpaper fan, and it's a hefty investment for a non-forever home. We decided to color drench this entire space along with our trim, which we did throughout the home in Sherwin-Williams gray screen. So we updated the paint to just give it a little bit of that powder room pop, changed our mirror into this really great size, kind of interesting shaped mirror with a really pretty lacquer gloss, updated the light fixtures, and then added in just a bunch of small details like our little towel ring here to just elevate the space. I call this our matchbook room because we have a handful of different matchbooks and an artwork of the Ritz Paris matchbook. I just always have thought collecting matchbooks are fun. You'll see them throughout our home, but we specially framed some of our favorite Atlanta restaurant matchbooks. We have some of our wedding matchbooks here for guests to take as they visit. And then we have a matchbook from the hotel we stayed at on our honeymoon, the Four Seasons Bora Bora. And then the last little kind of cheeky, fun piece I put in here was my first ever needlepoint project. I'm an aspiring needlepointer, and I think I'll be an aspiring needlepointer forever. But High Hopes, Low Expectations was my first ever canvas. I think it's funny. It's not very good, and I think that kind of goes with the whole point of it. You know, high hopes, low expectations, and every time we have guests over, they laugh about some of those little touches. And so now we can head on into our dining room. Moving into this townhome was during a very interesting chapter of our lives. Actually, 2 years ago today, Carter was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia. We were 27 years old, had been married a year and a half, and I found out that my husband had cancer. And so we started, like every, family, every person who's experienced cancer, we started the process of lots of hospital visits, lots of treatment. So during the first few months of Carter's cancer battle, he had neutropenia, or he was neutropenic, which just means he had no immune system. We were masking up, we weren't able to really leave the house, and we were having really frequent emergency hospital stays for 3-4 days at a time whenever he'd have a neutropenic fever, because if he got sick, he had no immune system to fight it because of the cancer treatment. And so at the time we were renting in an older home. We became concerned about, some of the things that can come with an older home, some of the environmental factors that could be affecting his health. And then also just the stability of being a renter. We didn't know when we went into the hospital for our handful of different stays, if we would be there 24 hours, if we would be there a week, if we'd be there a few months. Amidst all of this craziness, decided it was time to maybe invest and to really make roots in something more permanent that could be ours. Carter had just started his first of 8 rounds of chemotherapy injected directly into his spine. And we decided this is the perfect time to buy a first home and to go through that process. So this, honestly, we knew we wanted a townhome for less maintenance during this crazy time of life. We wanted a place that was newer built. As much as I would love a home with lots of character and charm, and that's historic, we knew we needed a place that would be maybe newer build, because it would probably just environmentally be safer, and there wouldn't be as many maybe surprises coming along. You hear all the horror stories of first buyers having, flooding or needing a new roof, and we just didn't have the bandwidth for that. So this was the first and only place we toured. Like I said, it was built in 2019, so we knew that it was going to be more up to date and probably safer. It's like a mile from where Carter was getting treated at the time, where we were spending a lot of our time, and so that was a plus. I saw a vision that we could make the bones of this place, we could really turn into something that felt like home.
And I'd say that we have brought plenty of charm to this house, but Also at the same time, it did help out with me being in residential real estate. Have
Yeah.
friends that are real estate agents. I work at a closing law firm, right? We probably went from deciding we wanted to get a house to the closing process being complete in a month.
Yeah,
I mean, it
if
was
that.
all a very, very quick process, thankfully. We did our due diligence, we knew what we were doing, and we were able to move quickly because of that.
So we're standing outside of our dining room, and I just love these two pictures we have hanging here. These are actually photographs from our wedding day at the Biltmore here in Atlanta, captured by Caroline and Greg Willett of Willett Photography. I wanted to have touches from our wedding day in the home, but I'm not a huge fan of just the typical huge shot of the bride and groom at the altar. It's not really my taste. I wanted something a little bit more architectural, a little bit more of a slight nod to our wedding day without being so overtly bridal. And I feel like their shots absolutely captured that, both the exterior of our venue and just the beautiful ceiling and chandeliers within the Biltmore, which is why we selected the venue. And you can see some of the cherry trees we had at our wedding day from Andy Beach peeking through in there. And so I just love seeing this artwork. It's just architecturally beautiful, but at the same time, it's fun when you know the story behind it, that it's actually from our wedding day. But moving on here into our dining room, this is just a lovely all-purpose, breakfast nook, makeshift workstation, mahjong table when we have friends over. And I have just adored really curating this into a textural, playful, colorful space. All of our linens you'll see here are from actually a really great friend of mine, Olivia. She owns Maison Venue, and all of her linens are handmade, block printed in India, and they're just colorful and bright and fun. And as a tried and true lover of blue and green, I just loved pulling in the different patterns and incorporating them throughout our china settings and some of the artwork we have in the space. This side you'll see we have a little bit of a bar setup with some of our favorite wines, some details that are customized to us in our home, and then this gorgeous piece of artwork that is on loan to us actually from Greg Irby Galleries. It's by Shannon Woodford. It's a piece called Party Prep. We have been experimenting for a while to figure out what to place here in this little alcove. And I'll tell you, this is by far our front runner. I saw this piece in Greg Irby Gallery a few months ago, and I've been thinking about it ever since. I think her colors are stunning. I just think the texture is beautiful, and I can absolutely see this scene. I can see the woman who is setting this scene. I feel like I've been this woman setting the scene, prepping a table, getting ready for a party, and it's just, I've thought about this piece ever since we saw it in the gallery, and so it's been really fun to see it styled in our own home. On this side of the dining room, we have an Hermes vintage scarf that was framed really beautifully. I love vintage Hermes scarves. I think I'm inspired by Queen Elizabeth. You'll see a lot of Queen Elizabeth nods throughout the house, but this is probably the first one. She was an avid collector of Hermes scarves, and so I had to follow suit. And just the scale, the colors, the grandeur of the ship and the tassels and the gold and the blues, it felt too beautiful and such a great scale to just wear around my neck. I wanted to really highlight it in our home. We also have these gorgeous sconces that I sourced from a vintage store on Etsy. I think that the wheat detailing is often imitated, but to this detail, never duplicated. And when I saw them and I saw the size of them, I knew that they would be amazing counterpoints on each side of this piece of artwork. And then toward the middle in our table, we have a Ballard Designs Outlet light fixture. I am Ballard Designs Outlet #1 customer, I swear. I am constantly messaging them, seeing if they have certain pieces in stock. That is an absolute design hack for anyone who's based in the Atlanta area. If you see something at Ballard that you love, don't be afraid to message their outlet store because they often have the same pieces in at a fraction of the price. And then the last piece I'd love to highlight in here are just the beautiful flowers that you'll see throughout my home were done by a really dear friend, Lauren Lutton. She's an attorney here in Atlanta with me. We met in law school, but in her free time, she's also a florist, a magnificent florist, and she often will do arrangements like these or for Mother's Day or a birthday at cost, plus a donation to a women's shelter that she is passionate about supporting. And so I try to support her whenever I can, and I just have always loved flowers. I think that there's something really beautiful in the idea that they are artwork and that they're precious, but they're not gonna always be here, that it's just a temporary, beautiful touch in your home. And so I try to incorporate fresh flowers as much as I can, especially when my dear friend Lauren is the one making them. That is our dining room, and now let's walk on over to the kitchen.
I will say Lauren probably makes about 99% of the design decisions in this house. I like to say I have veto power.
Yes.
Which essentially means if I really, really don't want something, it probably won't get in here, but it might just show up too. So, but no, Lauren makes most of the decisions, but she does factor in the things that I'd like this beautiful couch that we're sitting on. I did want somewhere comfy to sit and be able to watch some football, so we were able to make that happen, and it fit in with the design aesthetic that Lauren wanted as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say we have similar taste. I love beautiful things. I've always loved beautiful things. I love curated interiors that still feel like home. And I think that's where, no pun intended, but the marriage of me and Carter's tastes come together.
I think there is one design war that we do have. Lauren was surprised for me to say that. I think it's wallpaper. Lauren loves wallpaper. I'm not a huge wallpaper person. And we've had this conversation. It's no secret to family or friends that we are not planning on retiring in this home, and is not where we're going to be the rest of our lives, most likely. And so we have come to the decision together that
for now,
we'll hold off on the wallpaper, at least for the time being.
So we are now here in our kitchen, which I think really is the heart of our home. One of my favorite pieces in our kitchen is our framed cork board, where we host just things that are special to us, and also all of our upcoming wedding invitations, parties, showers. I think it's a lot more chic, candidly, than putting them on the refrigerator. And it allows us to really just have this playful space where we get to see all the fun and exciting upcoming events we have coming up. During the holidays, it's filled with holiday cards. And we also have a few mementos that are really special to us. My grandmother's store that she owned in Genoa, Illinois, we have an ornament from. We have some of our wedding papery up here. We have the beautiful Serenity Prayer. And then just a lot of fun, beautiful paper. I love paper. And so highlighting it as its own sort of artwork in the home is a really special touch. And whenever people visit, they really like this idea. Moving more into the actual kitchen cooking space, I am not a chef. My favorite thing to make for dinner is reservations, but I do like to have a tablescape or a hostscape, and this island really has served as the perfect home for all of that. My other favorite thing in this kitchen is our organization. We had the Neat Method from Atlanta come in when we first moved into the home, and they organized our kitchen impeccably. Girls who love organization get it. This is very appealing. This is very satisfying to my organized friends. And so I loved having the Neat Method come in and just make this a very easily maintainable space, so that whether it's just prepping dinner for two or hosting a large get-together, it's really easy to find everything you need. And we've been able to maintain it for almost 2 years now. That is our kitchen, and I would love to show you the living room next. So we are here in the living room, and the grounding pièce de résistance in here, I would say, is this gorgeous circular marble top coffee table from Frontgate. Frontgate was wonderful enough to gift me this beautiful piece, and I feel like it just sets the tone for just this really solid, spacious piece that has a lot of gorgeous French detailing, coupled with a really comfy, oversized sectional. That is great for hosting friends, whether we're watching a big game, I'm curled up on the couch with a book, or our beloved pup, Charlie. You can probably tell from some of the indentations on top of the couch, has really made himself at home here. For our TV, this is one of my most inexpensive but favorite parts of the home. I have always loved the look of a frame TV. Hated the price tag. When I saw that I was gonna have to pay $3,500 for a TV of this scale and then also pay for a frame, it didn't come with a frame, I was beyond myself. And so I attempted to make my own TV frames. You'll see them upstairs. They're a little sad, but they do the trick. But the best find I came across was a young guy here in Atlanta on Facebook Marketplace who makes these TV frames in his backyard for like $250. And I think it turned out amazing. It is such a statement. We get compliments all the time. You just throw up a little screensaver like this from YouTube, and it was a fraction of the price, which just makes my heart so happy. The only thing I love more than spending a lot of money on beautiful things is when I don't have to spend much money at all on even more beautiful things. And then finally, this is a gorgeous piece of furniture my mom actually gifted Carter and I for our wedding. This vignette I just have always really loved playing with. Seasonally, it's really fun to update. And you'll notice throughout the house, curating small little vignettes is really a passion of mine in an interior. It sets a story. When you have an open floor plan like we do, I think it really can create some grounding separation and create space that gives your house a really nice flow. And then finally, of course, on our counter, we have burning our signature home scent, which is the Nest grapefruit candle. During the winter, I do their blue cypress and snow candle. But I think by having the same scent going throughout the house, it's just a little hosting touch, a little interiors touch that gives your home continuity, that gives it an elevated feel when, again, it doesn't take an interior designer or a ton of money to just have the same scent carrying through your home. And then aesthetically, it really also continues to have that air of continuity. We have finished in the living room, and I'm just gonna show you a few final touches on our main living area. So this is just a little awkward space we had at our landing, and we have been trying to figure out for the last 2 years what to do with it. But the moment I saw these white bordello plates, I knew I had to put them up here. Coupled with a gorgeous garden stool, a beautiful floral, I think it just makes a really sweet moment in which otherwise was an awkward space. Do I love that the thermostat is right there, kind of interrupting the flow? No. If this was a forever home, would I have rejiggered all the wires to change it? Yes, but it's not, so we just roll with it, and that's okay. This is one of our favorite pieces of art in the home. It is a framed magazine cover from May of 2001. The pill Gleevec is part of Carter's cancer treatment. He has what is considered a lifetime, a chronic cancer, and while he did 8 rounds of spinal chemotherapy, he'll also have to maintain an oral chemotherapy for the rest of his life. 30 years ago, Carter's cancer diagnosis would have been a death sentence. But because of the invention of this little pill, it's turned into, after his initial treatment, a chronic disease. And when we were explaining this to our friends when he was first diagnosed, we sent them a picture of this Time magazine cover. We just think it's a really cool, powerful message. There is new ammunition in the war against cancer. These are the bullets. And one of our friends tracked down the original Time magazine cover, ordered it for us, and we got it framed. And we just think it's a really special reminder that while our cancer story will always be part of our lives, it is now just one more facet amongst all these other beautiful parts we have in our community and in our life. And then finally, in this little landing area, we have a gorgeous custom commission piece of art done by ljdesign.co. That's her Instagram handle, but it's just LJ Designs. And I think it is just such a cheeky, fun collection of just all the colors and texture that we love to have in our home. My favorite Easter egg, though, is underneath there is a secret message that says essentially, only miserable people don't have fun drinking wine, because this artwork covers a secret little wine cellar we have where we store some of our favorite reserve fine bottles of wine that we have collected throughout our years and our travels together. So you can't really even see it in the artwork, the secret message, but we know it's there, and it's just one of those small little touches that make custom artwork fun, that make creating a home really fun, those secret things that you know are there. Now we will head on downstairs to see our guest bedroom. Okay, we are here in our guest bedroom suite, and my really dear friend Riley Anderson helped me design this space. We have featured wicker and rattan pieces throughout the room to again give it that grounding. Almost feels like you're in kind of a secret garden. We're here on the bottom floor, and so I like to think it's a really cozy, special place when our guests come and stay with us. One of my favorite touches in this room, though, is this piece of artwork. While it may look like an abstract, while we do have some lovely commissioned, gorgeous professional fine art in the home, this actually was made by my mother when she was 4 years old in her AM kindergarten class. We were digging through old boxes in my parents' home in Chicago, and I found this, and I said, "Mom, this actually looks pretty good for a 4-year-old. If you just throw a fancy frame around it, no one would be able to tell." And so honestly, as a gag, she went and got it framed for me, but I thought that it looked so cute in this space, pulling in some of the greens and earthier tones. And I just love the cheeky nod that when people come in and visit, they might just assume it's this fine piece of artwork, but it actually is just Beth Nelson from Galesburg, Illinois, Douglas Elementary's finest work. It's cheeky, cute, high-low nods like that I think are part of my interior and my personal style, and I like to incorporate them wherever. I love that this piece hangs just feet from where a Penley fine art print hangs, and I'm just gonna continue to hope to do touches like this throughout my home for the rest of our lives. Now we can head on upstairs to our primary bedroom. We are here in our primary bedroom, which we have redesigned entirely with the amazing help of the team at Frontgate. They were so lovely to gift us our primary furniture selections in this room, and I had the best time doing it. We fell in love immediately with the Etienne collection. It is just this gorgeous French patinaed, yet really modernly handcrafted, excellent workmanship pieces that are truly lifelong investments. And so when I first saw the collection in person at the Frontgate studio, I knew that they would immediately fit our aesthetic as well as the function of our everyday life. This Whitby bed is another classic favorite of mine. The gold patina, I think, is just the perfect balance of an antique, yet again, elegant classic silhouette with the gorgeous detailed finials. This is the Whitby bed by Frontgate, and when I saw it, I knew we immediately had to have it. To be honest, I wanted the canopy selection, but Carter and I compromised on the non-canopy option, which I think is just as lovely and classic in its silhouette. It has this gorgeous antiqued brass patina, and then it has 4 finials with all this gorgeous scaling detailing throughout. Again, it is just this beautiful antique classic look with modern craftsmanship that will last us forever. And then one of my final favorite pieces in our primary bedroom is our chandelier. This is a very popular selection when people come in and see here. Not only is it this gorgeous modern light fixture, but for all of you people who sleep hot, it turns into a fan at night. So you don't have to choose between function and form. You can have both. You just need to find your own chandelier. So these are 3 intaglios that me and my mom actually handcrafted together. We found a beautiful designer on Etsy who created the intaglios themselves, and then a quick trip to Michael's and a hot glue gun, and I swear you can change the world, or at least make your own intaglios for a fraction of the designer price. One of my other favorite parts that my mom helped me pick out throughout our entire home is our trim and door paint color. It's called Gray Screen by Sherwin-Williams, And it is just the most beautiful, in my opinion, gray blue, depending on the lighting you're in. We decided, again, because Carter is not a wallpaper fan, to really drench all of our beautiful molding within our primary bedroom in this color. And I think it packs quite a punch, especially when coupled with the door hardware selections we decided to replace the original builder grade knobs with. Now, over here, speaking about builder grade, is my sad attempt in comparison to downstairs professional attempt at a frame TV. But I thought it was just kind of like the finishing touches, the earrings on your ears, the swipe of mascara before you leave the home, to place on your television. It just slightly elevates it. And while it is not perfect, do not look too closely. It is something that I think anyone can do. Again, if you have a miter saw, a trip to Home Depot, and some Gorilla Glue, spray paint it, and it will just be that slightly, very cost-effective compared to the frame TV touch that will just make watching TV in bed feel a little bit more chic and elegant. Now that we've had a chance to talk about the primary bedroom, I would love to show you my cloffice. We are here in my beloved cloffice. This is where I get ready for the day. We have my closet and some of my favorite accessories styled throughout. And then we also have my bathroom, where I get ready so that I have really just my own space. I'm an early riser, and so having separate bathrooms for me and my husband has really helped him not get that 5 a.m. wake up when I'm trying to get out the door, onto my next workout, or onto an early morning meeting. I have this gorgeous desk where I can set up in accompaniment with a Ballard Designs secretary. One of my favorite pieces of art by Donald Robertson featuring the Queen and her various sartorial pieces is hanging up here. This was gifted to me by Carter for my birthday, my 28th birthday, and you'll see little nods to the Queen throughout this room, especially. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the royal family, and so keep your eye out for some of those Easter eggs. Moving forward in the room, we have these two gorgeous chaise lounges featuring Maison Venue pillows matching the napkins we had downstairs. These just reminded me immediately of the spa at Old Edward's Inn, where you could curl up with your laptop or a cup of coffee in the morning watching the news, or you can have a great book to end the day. It really has become kind of a sanctuary spot for myself, me and Carter, me and girlfriends when I have them over. And again, Charlie loves to curl up on one of these. One of my last favorite pieces in this room is this stunning antique banquette. My mom found this at an estate sale, and even though it is quite hefty, we managed to find some movers who were willing to grab it for us and bring it into this space. We got it at quite a deal compared to what it would have been at a traditional antique store. So I'm very happy with it. And I hope that it's a piece that stays with us forever. I think it has a lot of character, a lot of detailing, and it's home to a lot of my needle pointing projects, books, vases, bags. It can hold a lot, and it really does the trick. And then throughout, you'll continue to see styled little details that are just both nods to me personally, as well as the Queen. We have some corgis hiding behind another makeshift frame TV here. And then on the other side of the banquette, we have the Torts book from me and Carter's first class, where we actually met, along with an engine log. My grandfather in Galesburg, Illinois, was a conductor on a BNSF train for 30 years, 50 years. I'm not gonna sell you short, Grandpa Jim. And in here were some of his logs of his different travels, his different routes that he would take. And so I love to style just throughout with your traditional coffee table books that you'll pick up at, any designer store, things that just have a little bit more personality, a little bit more touch. The average person who comes through might not notice that, but it's a little wink I get to see every day that makes me think of my grandfather, me and Carter meeting, and of course, my beloved Queen Elizabeth. And then this is my bathroom where I get to do my hair and makeup away from a boy, away from my husband. This is a place where I just have brought in a lot of pink, a lot of more feminine touches, another original needlepoint piece of art, and some of my favorite skincare products to have on display because I feel like it's cute, it's fun, it's girly. I brought in some really cute blue scalloping, pieces that might be a little bit more feminine than our common spaces typically call for. And then finally, to really make this space feel like a spa, like a hotel, in our shower, I went ahead and I decanted my daily products into more uniform containers like you would maybe experience at a spa or a hotel, just to slightly elevate the everyday fixings to make yourself presentable for the world.
Home to me is wherever I'm with him. Sorry. It's just really crazy to sit here 2 years after what was the worst day of my life, and to be in such a beautiful space and to feel so not only beautiful in the sense that I like to think that it's designed beautifully, but that it has been the landscape and just the host to so much laughter and joy and celebration and love and health. To sit here and to really get to celebrate how far we've come and how much we have ahead of us. That's all I could ask for from a home, and that's all I want to ever ask for from a home for the rest of my life.
Home is wherever you know you're comfortable, you're yourself, you're safe, right? I mean, when I was going through the rounds in the hospital and staying time, I mean, we had a lot of good friends and family that came and tried to touch up the hospital room and make it feel like home, and there were some moments, but it's never the same as when you're never truly comfortable unless it's somewhere that's your home, and that's not necessarily always where you live, right?
Yeah.
Like your home can be anywhere, but it's always where I'm with you, right?
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Morgan.
I'm Neil.
Welcome to our home in Atlanta, Georgia. Let us show you around.
Welcome to our newest Homeworthy series called Our First Home, where we meet young lovebirds who are building their first nest together.
Now we're the Taylors.
We're married.
These couples have both charming love stories and lovely homes.
It just feels great to be not only building a home, but building a life together.
So prepare to be swept off your feet by these incredible pairs and the places they call home. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I am Morgan Sandlin, and I own a social media agency called Mo Social in Atlanta, Georgia.
My name is Neil MacArthur, and I work in sales for a sports marketing and advertising company.
And welcome to our home. I was kind of house hunting. We weren't engaged yet, and I was looking around, and we had made an offer on one house and didn't end up getting it. And so he was aware that I was serious about the house hunt, and he was on his brother's bachelor party, and this house popped up as a quiet listing. It's a very popular neighborhood. I knew it was probably gonna go fast, and all weekend I was texting him pictures. I went and toured it, and was like, I think, like, if you agree, I think we should put an offer in on this house. He claims to not remember many of those texts or didn't know how serious I was, because
I was just saying, okay, sounds good, like I do 75% of the
yeah,
time.
and so I toured it twice over the weekend, and I was like, I really think this is, like, I can see us, like, long-term here. And come Sunday, I was gonna go live on Monday, and I was like, I think we need to do it. And so I told him, I was like, if you're cool with this, like, you know, we can back out during due diligence if you get there and you really don't like it, but we kind of got to move fast. I think we should do it. He says okay again and is like, sounds great, whatever you want. And then I go pick him up at the airport that night. He gets in the car. They accepted our offer within maybe like 30 minutes, and he gets in the car and I was like, so I have some news. We got the house. But then when you got here, he went and toured it the next day.
I did. Once I was able to get back and get my brain and body back to normal, I came and looked at it, and outside of the wallpaper that was in a certain area, I really liked it. I mean, the deck was like the
selling point
for me.
And then we have a little backyard as well where he'll go out there and hit some golf balls. So I imagine in the future we'll spend more time out there once kids come along. But right now it's Neil's little play area. Welcome to our living room. This is where we spend most of our time, except for really in the fall, winter when we need our fireplace. But this room is where I really fell in love with the house during the first tour. It reminded me a lot of the condo that I owned previously, before Neil and I even met for 4 years. And so when I came in, it felt like home naturally, with all of the beautiful thick trim on the walls, natural light. This window is west facing, so we get really great afternoon sun. And I believe I toured it actually during the afternoon, and so I just fell in love with everything about it. And it's really cozy. It's not too big of a space, but luckily I knew that my furniture from my condo was going to fit in here absolutely perfectly. So I have actually the exact furniture. This is pretty much a plug and play. So when I first moved in here, literally the first week, everyone was kind of like, looks like you've lived there for 6 years. And it was pretty much because when I moved in, I was like, when I toured it, I knew that it was going to fit everything perfectly. And that was one of the things that I really loved about it, because I knew I wasn't going to have to search for all of the pieces that I would love again, and know that at least one room would feel like home right away for us. So starting kind of with the sofa over here, this was funny enough. I think a lot of other people's first big girl purchases are maybe a car or something of that sort, but this was my first big girl purchase. I splurged a little bit on it. And it is absolutely the most comfortable sofa in the world. And my condo, which was quite small, it was the perfect place for people to essentially sleep on. It was like a twin size bed. So it's been along for the ride, and really, really love it. It's also a really simple piece to obviously design around, which is what I really love. I like having my big pieces to be really neutral, so that then I can really find pieces like our cheetah print rug that would look maybe a little bit crazy with a lot of color in here. But this rug actually feels quite neutral to me because of all of the other elements that are around it. And then of course have tied it in with some greens to kind of bring in my favorite color. And a recent addition to this room has kind of been a pop of a light pink, which I never really gravitated towards pink, but when I found these on Cherish, actually, I knew this wall, having a sofa on a white wall really overwhelmed me, to be honest, because this sofa sat in the middle of my living room in my condo, and never really had a style behind it. And because we have this beautiful window on this side, I wanted to be able to look out from the sofa, and I found these, and they were the perfect size, and they're also very my style, which is the botanical look. And so I was immediately drawn to them, ordered them, they looked great. So from there, I've become a pink girl, and we have our pink dried hydrangeas, which everyone always loves in this room. I love flowers, but I found myself spending a fortune on flowers, and Neil started to notice. So this has been a really great transition for me to lean into kind of the dried florals, and obviously plants as well, which you'll see kind of scattered throughout the house, because they live a lot longer than some fresh blooms. So now we try to limit ourselves to farmers market blooms when we do go, and keep at least something to make the room feel really lively. Moving on to this side of the room, which this window, like I said, was one of the reasons I fell in love with this space. My old condo had just a wall of windows, and so I got really, really accustomed to natural light in my house, and I think that it adds so much charm and character, especially in a house like ours that's a 1950s home. I think they are original. They won't open, so eventually we might have to change out the actual windows themselves. But they are stunning, and I found this really, really great custom woven shade. I close it every night to have privacy because obviously it is quite a large window. And so every morning I walk in and just raise it up, and it just makes me really happy to have that natural light come in right away. So that is a big focal point of this room, which brings me to the lamp that everybody on TikTok has fallen in love with. I actually found this in Atlanta. We have the Ballard Design Outlet, and I swear I spend half of my time there. And I actually found this. I'm not sure that they technically go together from a Ballard Design standpoint, but I pieced them together in the outlet and absolutely fell in love with it. It was a big focal point of my previous home, and so when we moved in here, I knew that it needed to be in a place of honor. And obviously from the street, when we go on our walks, we can see it directly from the street. It looks great, and it just takes up a lot of space on this antique table, which I love, having something that's a little bit larger so that I don't have to go crazy styling a table that might be a little bit bigger. So this table is an antique that I found in my hometown in Jacksonville, Florida. I was shopping with my mom and basically knew I needed something in my old home that I could have for years to come, that was simple, easy, and would look great. And this, I just loved the detail of all of the legs, and it was also quite affordable. So at the time, for 25-year-old me, it made a lot of sense, and I have absolutely loved it. It will also come with me in a lot of places, and that is something that pretty much everything you see here outside of the sofas and things, I hope to have forever in our homes. And so when I am buying a piece, I try to find something that I know isn't too odd of a shape, isn't anything too crazy, and that will integrate really nicely as we kind of grow throughout our houses. So the other antique piece in here is from anyone in Atlanta would know. It's called Scott's Antique Market, and it is this beautiful coffee table. I was looking for something exactly like it and really couldn't find anything. And this was an immediate yes when I saw it. It was the perfect size. I feel like it makes a statement, but it's also understated. It's easy to style, but I don't have to go too crazy by putting a ton of books on it. These chairs also came with us. They have been absolutely great. Honestly, I lived alone in my condo for quite a bit, so they didn't get a ton of use when I was living there. And it is funny now because as we've kind of integrated into this home, this has become Neil's spot. So now the chairs are getting quite a bit of use. These pillows my mom gave me for Christmas one year. I had mentioned that I liked them, and they showed up under the Christmas tree, and I have absolutely loved them. I think they bring in all of the tones of the botanical in the art, the kind of green undertones of the cheetah rug, and they're also quite comfortable. Also, a couple notes on top of this, because I absolutely love this little book. So something about me is I like almost everything in our house to have some kind of meaning, as much as it can. Obviously, a sofa can't have endless meaning, but everything we design with, I really like to try to have a meaning. So even this little book that's Momo's Sweet Twins, my niece and nephew, who you'll see scattered throughout the house, it's a little book filled with pictures of my niece, nephew, me, my parents, my sister. I believe Neil made it into this as well. So I like to have something that kind of sparks joy, if you will, scattered throughout. So you'll kind of pick up on that throughout the home. And then these really pretty little candle votives actually came from Carmel, a recent trip we went on. I found a home store. We were there for Neil's brother's wedding, and I shipped probably about 5 or 6 things from that home store. I think I talked to the shop owner for maybe an hour and a half, and they don't have a website, so it was kind of a now or never thing. So as we kind of work our way throughout the house, you'll see a few other things that came from there as well. But I think these are really pretty. I use them, just sitting out here in the evenings, but I also take them out on the patio when we're out there. Something in the past probably couple of years that I realized is that candles, scented candles, branded candles, cost quite a bit of money. And if you're burning them as frequently as I like to burn candles, it was just not practical. And so I really have recently fallen in love with just buying hurricanes like this one. And so I have them kind of scattered throughout the house. I have a lot of candlestick holders, and pretty much every single night, if we're sitting in here, if we're outside, we're lighting a candle. And obviously this kind of pillar candle lasts a lot longer than a scented fragrant candle. So just a nice little hack that I have found and really fallen in love with. And it allows me to burn candles guilt-free pretty much every evening. And then these sconces over here actually came with the house. This was another selling point when we started looking at the house. I loved this room, obviously, but I loved that each of these candles, or each of these sconces, had a light switch that's independent of the other. I know as long as I had rented and owned a condo, it wasn't the most inexpensive thing to get sconces actually installed electrically. And it was something that I always had really wanted in a house. So this was just a big win in my eyes that we have this. There's nothing overly special about these specific sconces, but this is something that kind of my whole motto with home design is not to rush the process and buy things you actually love, or you'll find out that you just have to replace it because you didn't love it as much as you could. So I am actually currently in the market for vintage sconces, and I don't know exactly what I want them to look like, but I tend to find them and just know right away that that's what I want. So that's on my little to-do list of things to shop for, and probably kind of higher at the top, because I think that's a really fun thing and it's an easy thing to change out once the electrical is already there. I've always kind of tried to define my home style in one term. And I would say like the TikTok world would call it more like the Nancy Meyers style right now. But I kind of feel like people have kind of missed what the Nancy Meyers tone is. I personally would like to think it's relatively traditional and collected and cozy, but it definitely has like just that collected feel. So I would say collected and cozy, but it's hard to pick one of the like niche terms that people talk about. I want it to stand the test of time. I don't want to have to, in my early 20s, I definitely bought things that were trendier and I had to replace them. And I think it's nice that we can be collecting these pieces that we can have in 20 years, 30 years in our houses. And so definitely I think traditional and classic and just with a little flair.
Luckily, I didn't have to hire a house designer. I decided to just marry one, but I just need to walk into a store and be like, all right, that room, just pick that up and move it into my house. So she's very good at handling that stuff for us. And
luckily he does like going to antique stores. He has a running list of things that he would like me to keep an eye out for at antique stores too. So I think we work well together with it. Welcome to our dining room. This is something that was an immediate yes for me. I loved the chair railing. The trim from the living room carries throughout this space, and I am a huge fan of built-ins. To be honest, they do stress me out a little bit sometimes because I want them to be perfect just about 24/7. So there's often restyling that goes on here. I'm sure anyone with built-ins who has a lot of pieces in them can recognize that feeling. But they just make me really happy. We can put a lot of pieces that have character and memories and can show them off to people. And our house is an 1,800 square foot house and doesn't have a ton of storage because it's from the 50s. And so it also is very practical for us. So something that I really try to keep in mind throughout having kind of a smaller home is to not bring anything in that I don't absolutely love. Honestly, when we did move in here, we had to get rid of a lot of stuff because I did have quite a bit of bookshelves in the old condo. So I really got rid of the things that were maybe purchased at big box retailers to just stylize my shelf, and tried to hone in on things that really meant something to us. So the way I kind of have these styled is, this one is a little bit of our daily use. We use these to bake in. I often, when I have people over, will put a couple bottles of wine that we're planning to drink in here to kind of show we're big wine people. My dad collects wine, and so I like to show what wine we're drinking to our guests. These we use for bread, chips, nuts, kind of anything when we're hosting. These are our table mats that we actually use every single day. And then some vases, and of course some more vases are stored under here. But it is pretty funny when people come over, because we do actually use everything that's in our shelves. So when we do host, they're almost empty sometimes. But to me, I think that makes a lot of sense, because I don't enjoy just having things that don't have any meaning behind them. I like that it has purpose and that there's a reason that everything is up here. Of course, as we kind of work our way up, we have more of the decor pieces on this side. So we have picture frames of Neil and I, my sister and the twins, of course, again, my parents, Neil and I. Right here we have a picture. I was actually at the birth of my niece and nephew, which tells you just about how much I really, really love them. I think a lot of these pictures came from the condo from when I was living alone, and so we do need to add some more for Neil. But of course we've replaced some. We got engaged about 6 weeks ago now, so we definitely need to add some of our engagement photos, but just haven't quite gotten around to it. So that's kind of the decor side of it. This piece, I'll talk a little bit more about on this side, because one thing about travel that I started doing probably when I was 25 is trying to purchase something from each trip. So nothing major, nothing huge, but something to remember the trip by, and something that I don't have to ship home. So an interior designer friend actually recommended that I buy bowls. She was like, it's an easy thing to pack. You can put it in your suitcase, you can wrap it up, you can carry it on. And so I kind of started by collecting just handmade bowls on these trips. So this one is from my 30th birthday trip. I went with 5 of my best girlfriends to Harbor Island in the Bahamas, and found this in a sweet little shop. And then these are actually the shells that we found on the trip from our boat day when we went out to a sandbar. I think it's a really special thing to be able to bring something home and know exactly where it came from, and then also fill it with something from the trip like this. On this side, I have some more pieces that came from different vacations, different places we've been. This is from Saulita when I went on a bachelorette trip not too long ago. Handmade, really beautiful. And then these are some wine corks. So Momo, that's my aunt name, but also something Neil calls me, Momo's 31st birthday. This one was Neil, Morgan, Katie, and Mitchell with 2 of our friends. We went to another 31st birthday, basically just stock them up in here. Again, wine is something special for my family. And as Neil started being around my family more, he started to experience it. We are definitely guilty for making him into a wine snob, but it's a really fun thing, and it brings our whole family together, and we go to Napa often, and it's just a lot of fun. So always have those. This is a little ice bucket from Neil and I's trip to New York over Christmas this year. Just really cute, pretty. But what's fun about inside of here, this is actually before I had a little bit of disposable income to shop on my trips, I would collect hotel keys. So every trip we went on, instead of necessarily buying something, I would just bring the hotel key home and write a little note. So this one was from Old Edwards Inn, and it was Katie and Mitchell's wedding in 2020. And then Sea Island, this is actually when we got engaged recently, so I need to write on those. And then we have, more wedding. So it's just a fun little thing, and it's an easy thing to collect, and they're small, so might as well. And it's a fun story, as I'm telling everyone now about my friend's wedding. So this piece is really fun. This actually came from the day we got engaged. My mom and my sister gave it to us at my surprise engagement party with friends and family. And it's an ice bucket with my soon-to-be last name, so the MacArthurs. And I love it. I've gifted this to a few different friends for their weddings, and so it's fun full circle to get my own. So really excited to use it for both wine and also for flowers and just as a vase. So this is kind of a fun little gadget. This was my first present from Neil. It is a juicer. It was a present that definitely benefited him as well because I make cocktails often with it, mostly palomas and margaritas. And so if I do use this, I'll take basically all of my ingredients from this bar area into the kitchen and build just a really pretty area with flowers if we have friends over, and kind of stylize it. And then obviously it's very practical as well. And I've actually, I think 3 or 4 of my friends have purchased this since I got it. So it is a hit, people love it. And it's fun and it looks good on the shelves. And then up here is some of my favorite glassware. So I do have a place, and I will show, that has more glassware, but these are some of my favorites. So these I also got in Carmel at that shop, and I love them. They have this really pretty etching on them. They're actually what brought me into the shop. They were in the window and I saw them and I was like, I'm buying those, and turned the corner. They only had 4 of them. So I've kind of now gotten in a habit of, instead of collecting one large set of glassware, I'm actually collecting like 4 pieces of each. So when friends do come over, no one really has a matching cup, but as long as they have a theme throughout, like these have etching as well, I think it works, and it's kind of a fun little quirk to hosting. So between these two, it depends if the drink's pretty. If it's a Paloma, I'll probably put it in a clear one. If it's less pretty, I'll put it in this one. Those actually came from one of our social media clients, who I love and still have a great relationship with. It's called 7:30. Also have a few other pieces that are theirs, and everything's handmade in Mexico, and it's absolutely beautiful. This is probably, as you can see in the center of the shelf, this is like my pride and joy. I found it at an antique store, and Neil had been asking me to find a decanter at an antique store while I was out there. And I was so excited to stumble onto this. It is such a unique wine decanter. Obviously it has the silver kind of all throughout it, but it also has this just lid, which we do tend to have to pour it for our guests because they won't hold on to that and it'll just kind of close on them. But everyone that comes over loves it. My dad tried to steal it from me, which meant I had to keep it even more because if he wanted it, I knew it was good. So we did recently gift him something similar, and I'm keeping my eye out for something just like it for him. And then these are actually the little coupe glasses my sister gave me when she asked me to be her maid of honor. So I have broken one. That is the problem with loving glassware, is you can't fall too in love with it, or you'll be heartbroken because you will break some pieces of it. These are some of my favorite. Neil doesn't love them as much because he feels like he's drinking out of a goblet. But I love putting margaritas in these. I think they're really fun, different, kind of the Mexican restaurant feel, but in a really chic way with the etching. Again, they're also handmade from Mexico, so they feel really special to me. That is about it for the bookshelves over here. Let's see, I do have these 2 pieces that I love and found on a girls' trip to Old Edwards with my mom and my sister and my niece. And I thought they were perfect for a little dining room. They actually worked perfectly in my condo, and that's where I purchased them for. But again, I'm really a big fan of trying to find pieces that work throughout my current home, but that I think will integrate into future homes as well. And so this is a perfect example of, I technically was looking for them for a kind of odd wall in the condo, and they are absolutely perfect here. They bring in the green from the living room. They have that kitchen feel with the fruits, and I love them. We do have the dining room table, which was actually gifted to me in exchange for some social media work back in the day. It's townhome, and I love it. It is exactly what I was looking for, and it matched perfectly with these Ballard design chairs. And then we also have this really pretty upholstered bench that again worked really great in my last place, but I knew it was going to be perfect right here against the window. I just love, I never used to like color. I was in my 20s. I kind of went through that phase of all neutral everything. And then over the past probably 3 or 4 years, I've just started to love muted tones, but still adding colors back in. So I think that this pink is great with the botanicals in the living room. The green obviously correlates with everything. And so even though there's a lot of different colors I didn't necessarily intentionally do here, I think it all works really, really well together. And then this is also the most comfortable thing in the world. And so if I do work from home instead of working in our office, I tend to just sit here where the natural light's coming in, and I know this is very comfortable. And then of course my flowers, these lilacs are stunning right now, but the vase is one of it's from Half Past Seven, which is our client that some of those etched glasses are from, and it's so beautiful, but it also holds all of my flowers really well. I usually kind of stick with the purples or the pinks or the greens to tie in all of the colors from this space. This piece is actually one of the first pieces I bought when we moved into the house. And I knew the light that was here before we moved in wasn't fully my style, and I wanted something that was kind of a focal point. And I love the look of plaster. I've always really loved the look of plaster. And so this was kind of an immediate yes. When I did see it in the store, I knew that it would be a statement, but because it's white, it would blend in nicely with the bookshelves and it wouldn't take away from the built-ins. The one thing that I did recently have updated was adding a dimmer, because it does have a lot of lights in a small space. And so at night, I had gotten to the point where I was just unscrewing light bulbs to dim it manually, essentially. And so we finally hired an electrician and were able to dim it. And I can show you the difference also, because it is really nice in the evenings. When we have people over, it adds that really cozy feel. And I love my candles. I love my dim lights. I never have overhead lights on. So that was a huge win to have that added in, and it really can set the mood and change things around in this space. Welcome to our kitchen. This is where Neil specifically spends most of his time. So we, I guess probably 4 months into dating, I figured out that Neil really had a knack for cooking and that he really, really loved it. I never really spent a lot of time in the kitchen, to be honest. I was always happy to have a small kitchen and just knew we'd throw things in the oven and call it a day. But about 4 months into dating, Neil was like, oh, I'll make us dinner tonight. And it was like homemade pasta sauce. It was this whole elaborate thing. He was in the kitchen for an hour and a half. I toured this house before Neil had a chance to tour it. And I knew that this could be the deal breaker. I walked in and this was the whole kitchen. And I was like, is that gonna be enough room for you? And luckily he said yes. And there is room on this side of the kitchen to expand some things. And so we have made it work. It really is a one-person kitchen over here. So we don't cook at the same time, which isn't a problem for me because I'm not helpful in the kitchen at all. And Neil really likes his space. So I will kind of walk you through the whole area. Of course, we have my little lamp. This has come from the original condo as well. It was in the little corner in our kitchen, and I just love a lamp in the kitchen. I think it is so cozy. In the evenings, it's all you need on. That and a candle, it just makes me so happy. So even though it takes up a little bit of counter space, it's kind of a non-negotiable for me in a kitchen now. This is really Neil's cooking area. So when he is in here, he is just working back and forth between these sides. So I have built him essentially a little cooking corner. We have his salt, his basil, if we're doing anything with that kind of goes in from outside and inside. I'm looking for a really pretty garlic keeper. So I'm in the market for that at an antique store. We are, of course, registering right now. So there's a lot of things that, as someone who didn't cook, I didn't have the supplies that really he needs to do a lot of the recipes that he would like to do. So we're slowly collecting all of those things, and it'll be really fun in about a year once we're married to see what he can do with all of his new kitchen tools. But of course, I make sure it looks pretty and it's also practical, which again serves purpose, because in my old condo, I had a pretty kitchen and I had these things out, but they were essentially props because I didn't cook. So it's really nice to actually know that he will use all of these things. I loved in the kitchen that these are glass, so I can show off some of our dishes. Again, we're registered, so hopefully these will be filled with things that we really, really love here soon. Moving over to this side, these are actually new. Originally, when we moved into the house, there were blinds here and I just didn't love them. So we took those down, and let some of the natural light in. But unfortunately, it also meant that our neighbors could see us at all times, especially when the lights are on in the kitchen. So one of our clients is Lacefield Designs. They do beautiful textiles. And so I got with them and had these made so that at night we can close them, have the privacy, but then in the morning we can open them back up and have that natural light come in. So really happy with how those have turned out. Of course, there's things that I do want to add. I would like to add some plates up here that would be really pretty, maybe from our honeymoon. If we could find some antique plates, that would be really fun. So always evolving in this house. And then over here is all of our cutting boards. And again, it's nice knowing these actually get used versus just sitting there as props like they were in my previous life. Some of them are for me to do cheese boards and just grab. And then of course others are for Neil to actually do prep and cut things with. So it's just a bonus to me that they look really great. Over here we have some of my favorite books that I've either been gifted. This was a really, really sweet gift when we got engaged from a friend who actually took our photos when we got engaged. It's a recipe journal, and she wrote a really sweet note on the inside. We clearly before that had been documenting our recipes on scratch paper, and it was something that Neil kept asking me to look for in an antique store, and I just hadn't found anything that I loved. But she wrote a really sweet letter knowing that we spend a lot of time in our kitchen, and basically wished us well and said we'd probably love having something like this. So for now, we have just enclosed our scratch paper, and eventually we'll probably get to the point where we write them all down. But it is a really sweet thing, and I love having that in our kitchen. So this is the end of the cooking side of the kitchen. And then as we move this way, this is something that we added recently. So we've been in the house, of course, like 5-6 months, and when I did tour it, I knew that this was a blank wall, and I didn't know why necessarily. And it's such an easy extension of the kitchen space. So pretty much upon moving in, I started kind of the works of figuring out who did the counters, who did the cabinetry, and added this in so that we have our trash can, which isn't glamorous, but we didn't have a space for it. And we still have the hardware to add. And then our wine fridge. So something that's important to us, obviously, was to have a wine fridge because we do go to Napa and we do collect some nicer wines that we want to save for years before we drink them. And so we wanted to add that in there. So this is to be determined what use it has daily, but most days and most weekends, this is where I bring my juicer, and this is where I set out the flowers. And if we have friends over, there's an appetizer here. And this has become a great place for us to kind of expand on our hosting side of things. Luckily, Neil has stuck with that side as his cooking, so I kind of get to play with this side. It's where I trim my flowers because the trash is right here. So it's come in very, very handy, and we will be adding shelving up here so that we can have some more glassware on display as well. As we work to this side is a work in progress. So this side of the kitchen was pretty much totally empty, and it has our washer and dryer. There's nowhere else to put our washer and dryer in the house. So we had to get quite creative with it. So essentially it was a closet in, the 1950s when it was built. And as I assume washer and dryers got bigger, they no longer could put doors on it. So when we bought the house, the washer and dryer was stacked, and we are slowly making a change here, adding a little bistro table and chairs over here, because right now I'm in the living room while Neil cooks, he's in the kitchen, and we have a lot of that back and forth of like, what? So I'm excited for this to be finished so that I can sit here, have a glass of wine while he cooks, have our music playing, and just kind of enjoy this space versus avoid it, which is what we've kind of done thus far. But this piece, I'm also really excited to start paying attention to it again, honestly, because again, this side of the kitchen wasn't used for the first 5 months that we've lived here. And this piece was kind of in a place of honor in my condo. It is a funny story to this because I had been looking for a piece to go in this one little corner of the condo for years. And I wasn't trying all of that hard to find it. But then about 4 months into dating Neil, I was like, I really want to find something. And we went to a bunch of different antique stores, and we walked in one, and I just had a good feeling and stumbled onto this. It was the exact size. It was the exact everything that I was looking for. I loved that it had glass to showcase some of our glass, but then it also had this piece covered so that we can store pieces down here. So like all of our tablecloths, some extra candlestick holders, things like that are all down in the bottom. And it's funny because this is the first piece that Neil probably saw like how giddy I get when I find something that I'm really excited about. Because we brought it home and he was like, you know, sitting in the living room watching football, and I was just sitting in the dining room where this was, just staring at it all night and was just so happy. So that it's a feeling I can't describe to people who don't get it, because it really, you just get so excited when you find something you've been looking for so long that you know you'll have for years and hopefully generations. I hope that I have kids that appreciate kind of older pieces as well and want to take on some of this. Up here, this is actually one of my friends gave it to me. People ask about it quite often, but it's actually just from like Aldi. And it was, I think, $2 maybe. And she brought it to me one day and was like, I know you need this. And it's perfect because I have these dried hydrangea stems and they look a little messy in a glass vase. So this has become a one-piece unit. It all works really well together. So it kind of moves around the house seasonally or when I just want to change things up, but I like that it brings some height to this piece. So right now this is where it lives. So that is it for the kitchen, and now we can go out to our back porch. All right, so welcome to our patio. We spend a lot of time out here when the weather allows, of course. This was a huge selling point of the house. As soon as I walked out here, I knew it would be a great place for us to hang out, for Neil to grill, eventually to start a family and have kids up here. So really fell in love with it quickly, but also realized very quickly that it needed a lot of furniture because it's a very large deck. So I knew I kind of wanted to divvy it up into two spaces and have kind of our dining area and then also our living space. I was very excited when I found this table for a good price because patio furniture is pretty expensive and it's hard to find. And then I actually found these chairs at Home Goods, which was a very lucky find. And they're my perfect color. They fit everything for, you know, the inside to the outside with the greenery around. And they also have this really cute scallop on the bottom, and I just love them. They're actually very comfortable and they're easy to clean. So I like that they add a little bit of a pop of color out here versus keeping everything really neutral. Again, I suddenly started liking color in my later 20s and early 30s, so incorporating it to a degree out here. And then the plants, of course, I love collecting planters. I am on a mission to find the prettiest ones. This is all a new hobby for me, planting. We had a tiny little deck at the condo, but not really enough room to actually experiment with, you know, gardening and things like that. This is our first spring in this house, so it's a bit of a learning curve. I'm learning, trying to figure out how to keep things alive and learn how to have a green thumb. It's a little hard here in Atlanta. It's so hot and scorching that some of the plants are hard to keep alive, but luckily both of our parents, my dad and his mom, are pros with their yards and their flowers, so we're getting a lot of good advice from them. But I have just loved to have something on the table, so when we do sit out here, I bring, you know, our placemats and style it and bring candles and then just keep the plants that we have out here. And it just looks really nice, very cozy, very chic, and also with all of the greenery behind. That was something that when we were looking at the house, you really can't see your neighbors at all. You really couldn't see them, and then the day we closed on the house, a giant tree fell, and now you can see them just a little bit, but it's still really nice and private back here, which I have loved. This is my little corner of trying to grow and start a garden. We're trying to start small so that I don't go crazy, but slowly but surely, I really love green. I love lavender. I know lavender's a little hard to kill. So I've been going in that route. It also keeps bugs away. It smells really nice. So This is the start of things. We're gonna try these. This is a little jalapeno plant. I've heard these might be hard. We'll see how it goes, but we thought it'd be fun for cocktails to have our own little jalapenos. We are gonna slowly in our backyard add actual garden beds and try and get that going. So it's gonna be a fun hobby. We both are excited about it. So Neil can do the kind of the manual labor and I can just attempt to keep them alive. So that's kind of it for this dining side. And then moving over to the living room side of things, this is where we spend a lot of our time in the fall, of course, and spring, summer. I'm sure it'll get hot. We're gonna get a few umbrellas out here as well. But it's so nice during the fall to sit here, watch football. Neil will make appetizers. I'll make it look all pretty and just enjoy the nice weather. Neil, of course, is a chef, if you will. And so he loves the grill as well. He is pretty much, and when it's nice weather, he wants to be out here grilling. So I tend to kind of park over here with a glass of wine and some good music playing, and he'll just kind of go in and out of the house doing his grill thing. And it's really been just very, very enjoyable and nice. So this sofa is actually Ballard design, and as soon as I saw it, I was in love with it. I thought it was perfect. A little bit unique for patio furniture, but still quite neutral and pretty. And then, of course, this is the matching chair that they're just so comfortable and easy. They're white, which, you know, a little risky, especially in Atlanta with pollen season and things like that. But of course, we cover them at night and really don't have a ton of issues there. So it's just been so great. These chairs over here are actually from my condo, but slowly gonna keep adding this style furniture out here. We'd kind of like to have 2 sofas for when we do have guests over. We love hosting, so this is really kind of the area when we are hosting that we spend most of our time, when it's nice weather, of course. So welcome to our cozy den area. This is where we spend a lot of our time in the fall and winter, as we've realized, because there is a fireplace down here. So this is technically a finished basement. And when we did look at the house for the first time, I fell in love with this room. It was green walls, so it felt a little dark when I first toured it, but I knew painting it white would brighten up the space a ton and make it feel less basement, but still have that really cozy feel to it. So it's funny because this is the room that I convinced Neil would be his room. And he took that as like he could hang his like Michael Jordan posters and things down here. He learned quite quickly that that wasn't going to be the case. But of course, I do want to keep him in mind while I'm doing all of the things, even though he trusts and loves everything that I do. I do want to make it obviously feel like his home and have things that are special to him as well. So this is the wall that is both of ours. We both have special things on here, but it has a lot of our kind of sentimental pieces. So it has, you know, Neil's grandmother gave him this. He's an Arkansas fan and think it's really cool. I initially thought we might frame it, but I kind of like it. I like the texture of, you know, the fabric on there. So we ended up just doing a nail and piecing it up there. And then he has a few Cardinals newspaper clippings. He went to these games. I can't speak to what all was happening with these, but I know they're really special to him. So he's carried them on for years. So wanted to make sure they had a place that felt really special for him. And then I actually have kind of the next pieces. So my grandpa played football at Tennessee in the, I guess it would be the 50s, 54-ish. And it has really defined a lot of our family and our falls especially. I went to Tennessee. My parents met at Tennessee. Both my parents were from Tennessee. So even though I grew up in Florida, I was always a big Tennessee football fan. But even more than just the fandom, it's always been very special to us because, you know, my grandpa, I was close with him until he died. And it just is a really special way for our family to spend time together. So I actually have a newspaper clipping of him. I have a few more that I haven't gotten framed yet, but one of his, I guess, team photos from when he was at Tennessee. He was number 17, so 17 is a very special number to us. I also have his hat that is from the Atlanta Olympics when him and my grandma lived here. And so when he did pass, my grandma told us we could kind of walk through the house and take anything we wanted to. And I naturally saw that this was Atlanta. I was living in Atlanta. It has a ton of wear and tear. He's definitely worn it a lot. You can see sweat marks, everything, but I knew that hanging it on the wall would be really special. And I love, from a design standpoint, I love the 2 textures pieces from our grandparents. Neil was also very, very close with his grandma. And so just a special thing to have. And then I have here also, when Tennessee finally beat Alabama, I was there with my 3 best friends and we were sitting together, and it was a huge win for us. And it was my best girlfriends from college, and it was a really fun game, of course, but also special to be there with them. And so my grandma sent me this, and I saved the newspaper and got it framed as well. So this is this is the newest edition. This is actually the letter that Neil wrote when he proposed to me. So when he proposed, he had the letter. He's a crier, so he knew he wasn't going to be able to say all of this when he proposed. So we walked out, we were at Sea Island, we walked out on the lawn, and he handed me the letter. And of course, then it made me be the crier. So I read the letter, and then at the end it says, I'm proposing, and look down, he's on a knee. And I just think I guess I never really thought of a proposal letter. And so when afterwards, I was like, we have to frame this. I think it's so special and so cool, and something that we can pass down to our children, in the future. That'll be a really, really cool thing. So I think it's amazing. And we debated putting it somewhere a little more private, like in our bedroom or wherever it was. But, I think it's a special thing to have hanging in the house that other people can see as well. So on a little bit less of a sweet note, but still special, is 2 pictures that Neil has from Arkansas. That, of course, again, this is kind of his sports room, as I call it. So wanted to incorporate that. And then really the goal for this wall is to just continue to fill it up with special moments. So now that we're together for a lot of these things, we would be together at this Tennessee game, we'd be together at all these, we can start filling it up with things that are special to both of us, which I think is really neat. So kind of planning to fill this whole wall as things happen, in no rush, obviously, because we want it to be very special. So moving on to this side of the room, this room actually has a full bathroom as well. So although our house is a 3-bedroom house, technically this could be considered a 4th. So as soon as we moved in, I knew I wanted to get a pull-out couch down here, but I was a little hesitant on what it would look like and the process of getting it. So we kind of looked online for a while, and then I ended up finding this at the Crate and Barrel outlet in Atlanta. And we haven't had anyone need to stay on it yet because we do currently have a full guest room. But it's going to be very, very handy, I know, especially as we start to have kids and things like that. I think we will definitely have guests taking advantage of this. And the nice thing is, it is also a very comfortable sofa. So again, something that's very practical for a smaller home, but also looks great with design elements. So wanted, again, another neutral kind of base here. This room is something that I wanted to think about Neil a little bit more than some of the other rooms, because I knew we would be hanging out in here, and we were also buying furniture for this room versus the living room. And something that he really wanted down here was a sectional. It is a small room. There was really no way we were gonna fit a large sectional down here. The only way in, because the staircase is kind of a spiral little thing, is through this door, and it was hard enough to get this sofa in. So my kind of compromise with him was to find a really comfortable ottoman, and this is absolutely exactly what I was looking for. I was so excited when I found this because it's on wheels, so we can literally scooch it up, and it feels just like a sectional, and like can lounge out with the fire and watch TV. But it also is very up my alley aesthetically, and it looks great in here. So that was a win for both of us. And I also have always wanted to have kind of a fabric sectional so I can take advantage of having a tray. And this tray, it's a Amanda Lindroth, it's beautiful. It has glass on it, so it's really practical for down here. If we have drinks or whatever, we can always use it. And then of course I can style it really pretty. So I have this little vase with, flowers. Obviously don't have flowers, cut flowers down here all the time, but have some kind of greenery, whether it's an orchid or something in here. And then I love using little vintage trays as little, basically places for matchboxes throughout the house. So you see them throughout, but in here I think this one's really cute. And it's nice, instead of having to run up and down every time I forget something, I try and kind of stock us with the stuff that we do need. So again, we have the candlesticks with the candles that are easy to replace and use frequently. So we pretty much have those lit every time we're down here, which I love. Moving on to this side of the space. This is one of my absolute favorite corners of the house. It's one of those things where I'm like, okay, it was meant to be. Like when I bought this when the twins were born in Nashville. I got an apartment up there because I wanted to be so close to them, and they didn't really have space for me to be visiting all the time. And I needed not much furniture. It was a little studio, but I needed a little bit of furniture in there. And so I went to this store in Nashville called Patio & Co. They have absolutely amazing pieces that are rather affordable. And I found this, and it was my TV stand there. And I knew that even though I was only doing like a 6-month lease, I knew that I would bring this to a future home because I think it is just so beautiful. So when I walked in here and I was like, oh, what would go in those corners? I was like, that table would be perfect. I'm going to go measure it. And I measure the two, and I was like, it's going to fit like a glove. And so it did. And I call this like our little bourbon bar. It's not fully done yet, but this is kind of where I picture having just the bourbon that Neil can just pour a glass of bourbon, and kind of that cozy den bourbon vibe in here. And then of course we have all of my matchboxes that have been collected over the years. I collect way too many, so I kind of have to just keep these to the side because I would fill a giant jar with them. But I do think these are really pretty. I love topping it with this one. This is from the house we rented at Harbor Island for my 30th birthday. They had their own matchboxes, which I thought was a really cool idea for guests to take. So that one's really fun to kind of keep at the top. But this, I love this. I think it'll evolve. I think it's going to continue to be my favorite spot. And these, I just think, are a perfect addition to it as well. And this all came from my previous condo, and it just fit perfectly. So love that area. And then of course our fireplace. I was just honestly excited that we even had a fireplace, but the fact that it was in a room this cozy made me really happy. So Neil loves a wood burning fireplace. So I never make a fire. If it was gas, I would just turn it on all the time. But I pretty much wait for him to kind of get it all set up. And it's nice because that way we're always kind of spending time down here when there is a fire. He'll make it, and then he'll go upstairs, make dinner, we'll go eat, we'll come back down, watch a movie. And it just truly is the coziest room. I don't think we initially planned to call this a den. And then once we started spending time here and realizing how cozy this room really is, we were like, this is a den for sure. So this is why we really spend our fall and winter down here more than we do spring, summer, because we're kind of out on the deck during that part. But I did have to make the decision, and I think a lot of people would be happy about this. I had to decide when we painted this room if I'd wanted to paint the fireplace. I love red brick. When red brick looks great, it's cannot be beat. So I wanted to keep it red. I think it adds like a cozy element to it. And then obviously just kind of painted the white around it. So love this corner. And then over here is just one other chair, which actually was initially a pair. The other one is at our office, our agency's office. And this is kind of a temporary hold a little bit for me because I know we want to do something really neat over here, but it kind of comes back to that whole not rushing thing. And I know when I see it, whether it's at an antique store or I see inspiration somewhere, I know I will know what we're going to do here. So kind of just have this in case we have more guests down here, but really excited to see what comes of this over the next few years. And then really the last piece over here, we have a couple, it's kind of hard to see, but it's another thing that just fit like a glove. I needed a like 12-inch coffee table or end table right here. And I happened to go to an antique store and stumble upon this, and it's a marble top, and it's absolutely the perfect size for right here. So that was just one of those things that was meant to be. And then this lamp, which I can actually kind of pick up, was actually my Christmas present from Neil this year. When we were in New York, we stumbled into a beautiful store, and I said, I love that lamp. It was an antique, and I was like, I love it. I'm already buying. I think I bought 3 other things in there. I was like, I'm already buying these, and he was like, we'll make it a Christmas present. And so they shipped it, because obviously I couldn't check that one, but they shipped it, and I just think it's really neat, again, tying back to vacations and places that we've been and everything kind of having memories together, that, you know, it lives here for now, but eventually it might live in a kid's room, or it might live, you know, wherever it goes. I think it'll be fun to remember that story of going to New York together for Christmas time. Personally, home is where I just feel cozy and happy and at ease. I think it means a place where we can entertain and make memories. I would like to never leave our home. If we could do everything we wanted here, I would never see a reason to leave. So to me, it's where we can really build memories and, you know, start our lives together and finish lives together too.
Yeah, I mean, I think like home is a place where you can kind of have a little bit of everything. You know, it's your place to rest and relax. It's your place to, you know, raise a family one day. It's your place to entertain and have fun. So yeah, I think that's what a home is meant to be.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Chanley.
And I'm Cy.
And welcome to our home in Fairhope, Alabama.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Chanley Carter, and I'm a cardiovascular sonographer for Mobile Infirmary.
And I'm Cy Carter, and I'm an electrical engineer, and we flip houses.
Yeah. So we are currently in Fairhope, Alabama. It is a sweet coastal town right in the Mobile Bay. And it really is just like a little Hallmark movie. It's a very slow place to live. I am from Dallas, Texas, which is much more fast-paced. And Fairhope is just a really sweet place to live. And we love it here.
We started hunting, and we looked at houses all up and down the Eastern Shore, 6 or 7 houses, and almost put an offer in on 2 or 3 of them. And then we found this house, and it was in really bad shape. But when we pulled in, you know, we had the beautiful pecan trees in the front yard, and it was just kind of at that time set apart, and it had a lot of character, and we knew we could pull a lot of character out of the house. And you walk in, and you walk through, and the floors creak, and you're like, oh, I like that. So it didn't take much for us to know this is where we wanted to be.
It's definitely a 60s time capsule. This was a complete gut renovation, but we still kept a lot of the integrity of the house. We didn't knock any walls out. We only added a wall. And we kept the original hardwood floors and the windows and all the things like that. So this has been a really fun, long project for us, and we're just really happy to be settled now in Fairhope. So we love it here. Welcome to our entryway / living room space. The very first thing that I wanted for guests to see whenever they walk in through our front doors is this beautiful Psalms 91 passage that we had made. It is our family chapter of the Bible that we love, and this is the forefront of our home. And as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And so this is one thing that I love in this area, and it's very grand, it's very big, and fills up this wall perfectly. Whenever we were putting in our picture frame molding, we were trying to figure out what would go best there, and I think that piece fits perfectly there. Over here we have 2 portraits by the artist Vanessa Horabuena, and these are just some really beautiful images that she had painted, and I also wanted for these to be one of the first things people see. As they're coming in, they'll see Psalm 91, and as they're leaving, they'll see these beautiful images that mean a lot to Cy and I. And here is where my Facebook Marketplace journey kind of begins in our house. Facebook Marketplace has got us through the trenches, and everything on here besides this picture frame right here has been from Facebook Marketplace. I love the idea of finding a piece, especially if it's dirty and rusted, and making it look beautiful and giving it a new home. My favorite piece, I would say I have a couple favorite pieces right here, is this grand mirror that I got with this beautiful ornate shell on the top of it. And this was a mirror from Marketplace, and I snatched it quick, and I just thought, we have to have a mirror at our entryway, and it just fit perfectly here. Another thing that I love is this beautiful vintage lamp. This is actually from the Ritz-Carlton in New Orleans, and I picked it up from a fabulous man who owns an Airbnb called The Beatty in downtown Mobile. And I didn't want to change the frame or anything. I wanted to keep it just how it is. I think it just adds to the pizzazz and to the age of it. And so it's very pretty to look at. And the thing about me is I love a lamp. We very rarely use the big light in our house. In fact, that's probably the only rule that I have, is to never use the big light. We're a lamp family. That's what we do. And here I have another piece that I just really love. It's our wedding crest. You'll see throughout our house, we have this printed on napkins, on robes, on our shower curtain, which I can't wait to show you in a few minutes. Now let's transition into the living room. Here in our living room, we have, like I said earlier, a lot of natural light in this room. So it reflects off a lot of these fun colors that I have in here. All of our pillows are actually from Amazon, and I love toile. Toile is very timeless to me. It never goes out of style, and it goes with every season too. So I do love that. One thing that was really important to me was to not have a big black box as a TV. And so I had been asking Cy for a couple of weeks, I really, really would love to have a frame around our TV. Now, we're young 20-somethings, and we are not quite established in life yet, so we have to DIY a lot of things. So we bought a TV that would mount kind of flush to the wall, and Cy built this ornate frame. And I spray painted it. That's just spray paint. That's not rub and buff or anything. So we love it, and of course with a picture light over it as well. And I love looking at this. A lot of people will come in and they won't even realize that it's a TV. They'll think it's a piece of art, and that is just like chef's kiss. I love that compliment so much. Another favorite piece of mine is actually this large Oshak rug. It is far from boring. It has so many colors that I love, the blues and the greens, and it's just so fun. It makes me happy to look at. When we come in here and have our morning coffee, I love it. I think it's so pretty. And I got this from Amazon as well. And everybody that comes in, they always ask, where did you get your rug from? Where'd you get it? And I tell them Amazon, and I send them the link so we can all have the same rug and just be happy whenever we wake up in the morning. So I love this rug. And it was really important to me as well to have a coffee table that was glass so that we could see through it. And I would be able to see the rug underneath it as well. So one thing that I love to collect is books. This is kind of sad to admit, I'm not a big reader, but I love to decorate with books. My husband is a reader, so that's been fun. All his books that he gets, I can just decorate with, so it's great. And I love to look through them. I don't just buy them only for decor. I do love to look through them, and I love to study. And so my number one hack for finding coffee table books is thrift stores. Thrift stores, oh my goodness, thrift stores, antique stores, and Facebook Marketplace have been a great source of coffee table books for me. They're cheap and they're beautiful most of the time. So I love to collect these. I love to look at my coffee table and see all of these well-collected items, and it really just brings me a lot of joy. And of course, you have to have a candy bowl because you just have to. That adds to the warmth of it all. So that's a must as well. Another thing that I love in this room that is quite eye-catching is our chandelier. So I wanted in this room, I didn't want to have just a regular chandelier. We kind of compromised, actually. I love a chandelier, and my husband doesn't like to be hot. So we compromised, and we put in this chandelier. And it's so much fun. And whenever it opens up to do its fanning, it really is quite strong and makes this room quite cold. So I will have a chandelier in our house for however many moves we have. We will always have a chandelier. Another thing that I found off of Facebook Marketplace were these two beautiful images of polo matches. It completely adds to the Ralph Lauren aesthetic that I love, that is forever timeless. And I think these were so beautiful. They came pre-framed and they were real antiques, and I love them so much. I decided to take them to the, really almost to the ceiling. I like to just take things high. That's another piece of advice I have to share, is take it high. Don't be scared to take a whole gallery wall to the ceiling. It makes this room feel bigger, and it really fills up this kind of lonely corner that we had before. This one says a gallop on the boards and a backhander stops a rush, and these make me also very happy to look at as well. This is our built-in bookshelf that came with the house, and I love a built-in bookshelf. I love to put little things out that wouldn't normally be seen. I love, like I said earlier, to collect coffee table books. This is our wedding candle that would normally be put in a box, but no, I wanted it to be seen. And then, of course, we have our photos, just some small family photos. And this is also one of the first things people go to whenever they come in and they want to come and see what we've put out and look at our family, and it makes me very proud to have such a great family, and I love this space. Also, my parents just got back from Patio, and one thing I always request whenever they go on their travels is just to bring me back a piece of art. So they brought me back this beautiful painting of Patio, and I just love to look at it. And here we have another piece of art from our recent trip to Charleston, which if you love design, you love Charleston. And so this is just a piece that we picked up, and every time I look at it, it reminds me of when we went and how it inspired me whenever I came back. And I love these two pieces of art. They mean a lot to me. Another part of our house that also means a lot to me is our gallery wall, our wedding gallery wall to be specific. We got married at the Alana, and it was my dream venue to be at. There was a pool in the bridal suite and a bowling alley for the groomsmen, and it was so grand, and it really just captured us, and it captured what we love, and it was totally over the top and kind of unrealistic, but we loved it, and it was so fun, and people still talk about it today, and more importantly, just the people that were there with us meant a lot to us. And so when they come over, they can see themselves too, and I want them to feel loved whenever they see this wall as well. And picture lights, I am a picture light girl. I think that a picture light elevates every space. I think it can elevate anything. It can go over a picture, it can go over a canvas, it can go over a mirror, and it really just elevates whatever room that you're in. So we will have picture lights on at all times for throughout most of the night. I love our house at nighttime because we have all of these low lit lamps and picture lights, and it really adds just to the coziness of our home that I do love. Now let's transition to the dining room. I would say my overall design style is definitely traditional, a little bold, a little in your face, a lot of Ralph Lauren inspiration with a little bit of coastal influence as well, warm and cozy. And I like to kind of describe my house a little bit like eye candy. Everywhere you look, everything has a story. Everything was thoughtfully placed, and everything is just fun to look at to me inside. And I think that's just what matters most. And so my style altogether is pretty well collected, I would say, and bold. Welcome to our dining room. This is my summer tablescape. If you come close, you can look at this beautiful tablecloth that I actually got from Amazon. It was $15, but don't tell anybody. And I think it's so pretty to look at, and it looks very high-end. But I actually, like I said, purchased from Amazon. And of course, I think that a tablescape is so intentional, and when we have guests come to our home, it's very important for me to feel like I took the time to make them feel loved, to make them feel like I put out my best for them. That's one thing Si and I love to do, is we love just to lay out the red carpet for people to come in our home and be loved. We want them to leave changed. So here, one thing I am very excited to show you is my napkins. So of course we have Blue Willow. That is just our summer china that we use, and we use this. We don't just set it out. We use our china throughout the year. Even we eat pizza off of it. I kind of made a rule that we're not going to have plastic in the house for our plates and all the things because it would force us to use our china. So I'm currently working on having one set for each season. So I have my summer and my spring set. So I'm very proud of this blue willow that my mother-in-law has given me. Now, we are in the South, which means we monogram a lot of things. And I have a wonderful monogram lady. Her name is Susan Fitzhugh. She owns Monogram Mercantile in downtown Fairhope. We love to support local. And she has done so much work for me, but she did this beautiful S&C for Cyan Chanley embroidery work on all 6 of these napkins here. And I actually thrifted these yellow napkins for $2 each and took them to her, and she made them beautiful. So not everything you buy has to be designer and has to be all this, all that in a bucket of rocks for it to be grand. You can go to the thrift store and buy regular napkins, cocktail napkins, pick a color that you love for whatever season that you love. Take it to your local monogram artist and have her fix it up for you. So this has been a very big win for me that I love. Another thing that I love is these touch lamps. So I normally have just drippy candles on either side of whatever flower arrangement I have, but I've currently really been loving these touch lamps, and they have 3 different settings. I just picked these up from TJ Maxx, and I think that they're fabulous. They add a little level of drama. They make you feel like you're at a restaurant. And like I said earlier, any way that we can just elevate our everyday life, we're gonna do that. So this is my summer tablescape that I love to make for people. So my precious mother-in-law, Lisa Carter, she gifted me this beautiful frame that she found at an antique store. And I was just thinking to myself, what am I gonna put in there that I love to look at? And I follow a designer. I have followed her for a very long time. Her name is Anna Page. She is a brilliant designer out of New York. And she has this picture over her bed that looks very similar to this. And whenever I looked up where she got it, she said that she did it herself. And so I thought, well, if Anna can do that, maybe I could do it myself. And so I copied Anna Page, point blank period. I just grabbed a canvas and some paint, and I just mimicked her swirls, and I think it's so fun. It's abstract, and it's very eye-catching. So I take a lot of pride in the fact that I did this. It was really simple to do, but it still was fun, and I can say that I did it myself. So I love this piece. And we needed something against the picture frame molding that we have on this wall. I wanted to add some dimension. I wanted to add a really grand piece. And Cy and I spent, how long would you say, babe, putting this up?
A week.
About a week putting in this picture frame molding that was actually very simple to do. Sorry, can I cut that?
Yes, fine.
That was actually very simple to do. So we have really enjoyed this picture frame molding. I love when light hits it, how it just reflects, and the entire house is painted also in a Swiss coffee, and it looks different in all different kinds of light. It looks great in morning light, noon light, and at nighttime when the lamp light hits it. So we really love this space. Another part of hosting, a rule of thumb that I have in my house at all times, is to always have champagne ready to serve my guest. Whether we're celebrating a new job or someone's got a new car, or just because it's a Tuesday, it's really important for me to celebrate the people in our lives. So I had something happen at work, and we cracked open champagne and had it on a Tuesday. And that, I think life is about those little luxuries. And so also every time we have a guest over, whoever walks in through our door, we're gonna have champagne ready and we're gonna celebrate you, and we want you to leave happy, you know? One thing that Susan also did, she did these precious cocktail napkins. These are another thing that I thrifted, and she put the Carters on each one. This has size drink, Jack and Coke. Here we have our wedding champagne, obviously Veuve, and then my drink, which is a dirty martini. And she copied exactly what I wanted, and I think that cocktail napkins are so chic, and they're so timeless, and they also never go out. So you've got to have champagne at all times on your bar cart, ready to celebrate. One last thing I'll show on the bar cart is this cutie little lamp. I got him at Emmy's Thrift. I named him Jacques. I don't know why, but he looks like a Jacques to me, and he's kind of funky, and we needed a little light in this corner, and I think that he fits perfectly. Also, with that lamp being gold, it just makes it feel special, I guess I should say. Another thing that I have loved to DIY are intaglios. So I have 4, one on each side of our back doors. And I got the frames from Target. I purchased the intaglios from Etsy, and they're biblical intaglios, so they're really special to us. And I would say, all in all, this project of just 4 cost about $60. And for intaglios, that's pretty cheap. And so I knew I didn't have, $300, $400 to buy some from Ballard Designs, so I thought I would do them myself. And I love them. I think that they're so pretty, they're very ornate, and they tell a story, and I like that. And I like that I did them myself. It kind of gives me a little confidence boost, so I like that. They're also a great gift to give for baby showers, wedding showers, birthdays, just because they're affordable and they're impressive. We like that. I am very excited to show you this. This is our dining room gallery wall, and it is filled with different pieces of art that I've collected, different gifts that I've been given, and just little mementos through our life that we've collected, and it is so fun to look at. So I'm just going to talk you through it a little bit. Up here we have a picture of the wineries of Napa Valley. I found this in a coffee table book, and it was a book about wine, and I looked through it, and after I had bought it, and I saw that there was this beautiful map of the wineries of Napa, and I just thought it was so pretty it had to be in a frame. Next is a picture I got off of Etsy. I believe it's called Casa Amor, and we love the beach. We love to be by water, and it's very Italian inspired. This, I believe, is a picture off of Lake Como. I could be wrong on that, but it's beautiful. Next is an image of Audrey, because of course she has to get up here, has to be on the wall somewhere. I actually grabbed this picture out of a coffee table book as well and put it up there, and it has some quotes from her that I love. Fox hunt prints are another thing that I love to collect. They are I love an English inspired moment, and I think that it's just a really pretty thing as well. We have our wedding champagne and a matching picture of our wedding champagne as well. That was painted for us and gifted to us by my sister-in-law Aggie, and we have it out to display all the time. Here is a picture of our first home. We called that the Carter Cottage. That was whenever we lived in Saraland. And it was such a simple, small home, but it meant a lot to us. And we really loved living there for the time being. This is actually our second home to live in, but we'll be here for quite a while. We have our wedding invitation. Girls, if you have your wedding invitation and it's just stuffed away in a box somewhere, I would encourage you to get it out, put it in a pretty frame. That way everybody can see it. One thing that my mother has taught me, she's taught me so much in life, she has taught me to write things down. So she gave me this book by Jacques Pepin, and it is a book where every time you host, you can have your friends sign. That way you can keep track of your memories, and you write the menu down so you know what you ate. And it's just a small way to be intentional with the parties that you throw. And Jacques Pepin has just beautiful work that he's done. And so I'm very excited to use this book throughout our life and keep track of the memories that we have. One more thing that I'll show you is going to be this Mark and Graham punch bowl that I just stinking love. Oh my gosh, it has our last name engraved on it, and we put this puppy to use all of the time. We put this punch bowl to use all the time. For as many showers as I throw, parties that we have, this thing is always full, whether it's of wine, of sparkling water, of a floral arrangement. This thing is very versatile, and I love it. It's brass and in your face, and I like that. Why not go a little big? Because our home is small and I don't have a space to put an entry table, I decided to make a cookbook table right in this corner next to our fridge. It has my small collection that I have gathered over the past 2.5 years of being married of vintage Southern Living books and other cookbooks that I have collected or have been gifted to me. And it's very easy to have them sitting out like this. I can just grab one and go to the table with a cup of tea or coffee and just study and figure out what I want to cook that night, make that day, make for the party. And so I've really enjoyed this stage of wifehood. I've really enjoyed looking through cookbooks. And I remember as a little girl, my mom would always be at the table, and she would always be going through cookbooks and dog tagging them and highlighting them, and it was very comforting for me as a little girl to see my mom do that. So now I want to do that in our family, and I want our kids to feel how I felt with just this small little luxury of looking through a cookbook and just finding what you want to serve your family. I wanted to show you this rug that I purchased also from Facebook Marketplace. It was $10. And whenever I got it, it was quite messy. So I power washed it 2 times, and with a little grit and determination, you can make a lot of things work. And this is now sitting in our dining room, and I think that it adds a beautiful amount of blue and white to this space. And I'm very proud that I got this for only $10 on Marketplace. So I wanted to share that with you too. Rugs can sometimes be a little hit or miss on Marketplace, but sometimes when they hit, they hit.
Chandler makes all the design decisions when it comes to the decor. Now,
Yes.
she does, I'm guessing you'll see shortly, is we've got kind of the man cave area in here that has a lot of my trophies and things that, and just kind of my area that, but she also helped design it. I was just like, yeah, that'll probably look good on the wall. And she's like, okay, but it doesn't need to go there. It needs to go over here. Yeah, but most of my design, besides structural components, comes from, yeah, you know, her pointing and telling me what to do, so.
Yes, I like a lot of masculine influence as well into design. So we have a whole separate area that was added on to the house before we bought it. It has raw brick, and it's a bit moody in there, and so I got to play and do some different things that I wouldn't normally do in that room. Now I will say, even though I make all of the design choices, Cy makes all my dreams come true, truly. Like, everything that I've wanted to do with this house, we did it ourselves. The only 2 things we hired out for was the countertops and the tile work in the kitchen and in the bathrooms. Other than that, Cy did this with his own 2 hands. Everything from the painting to staining the floors to the picture frame molding to hanging light fixtures. Cy has done it all himself. And so I think that is also why we love this house so much, and I'm not ready to move for a very long time because I think I'm emotionally attached to this place now. So that's a little bit about that. Welcome to our kitchen. Now, this kitchen, like I said, is the heart of our home. I am learning a lot with cooking and burning a lot of things and getting to create and explore in here, and I've really enjoyed it a lot. So we have a galley kitchen in here that my husband and I completely renovated. Whenever we first came in, it had a dark walnut cabinets, and it felt like it was very crowding, and it felt very small. So him and I got in here and ripped out this entire thing down to the subfloor. And because this kitchen is so small, it was important for us to pick design choices that made this room feel light and airy, but still had a little bit of drama to it. For example, this white and beige marble checkerboard floor in the kitchen is so much fun. It's definitely out of the ordinary, but I think that it adds a little bit of a dramatic flair that this space really needed, as well as the countertops too. I didn't want to just pick out just a regular quartz or just anything bland. I wanted for it to have some veining in it, and I wanted for it to have a little bit of a story behind it as well. We had these installed by Stone Interiors in Loxley, and they did a fabulous job, and we just really love these countertops a lot. So I also wanted to have a backsplash that had longer tiles with a little bit of wear and tear to them. So Cy did this himself, this beautiful backsplash. And I'm very, very proud of him. He did it all by himself, and there was no mess ups or anything, and he copied my vision entirely. So I'm very thankful to him for that. And of course, you have to have a pot filler. I think it just adds a little bit of grandiose, don't you think? So pot filler is a must in all of our homes as well. We are a very big coffee family as well. Cy and I have coffee multiple times a day, every morning. He has it all throughout the day as well, so coffee is very important to us. And I made this little piece of art with him, and it is a picture of our coffee stains. And it says, "How do you take your coffee, Chan? With you, Cy." And this is something I saw off of Pinterest, and I thought, my husband and I can recreate that, and it can be a sweet little memento to our little coffee corner. And we always get a lot of compliments on it, and it just is a very romantic piece that I love. We are pretty romantic, so I think that you need that in marriage and in life as well. Why not be a little extra? Why not be a little romantic? And of course, my favorite coffee shop is Ralph's Coffee in Chicago and New York. And so I saved one of my sleeves and put it in a frame from TJ Maxx, and I have really loved it there. So this is our little coffee corner that we visit every day, and it's simple, sleek, to the point, not too much in your face, but we love it. It's very cozy to me. Next, if you are in the South, I know you got a plate wall in your house, or at least you're working on one, I hope. Here we have my Blue Willow set that was gifted to me from my mother-in-law, Lisa. It's beautiful. It took me not very long to put up either, and I wanted to take it higher. I wanted to make it a little dramatic, take it to the ceiling, and I think that it fits perfectly in this space. I was trying to decide whether to put a picture or, I don't know, really. I didn't know what would go here, but I'm so thankful that I put this plate wall right here because it's very grand, and I plan to actually, as I collect more in life, because I'm only 24, as I collect more plates, I want to take it all the way across and make this whole area just pop. So that is my plan. But currently, I'm really thankful for our simple but yet grand plate wall. Next, let's transition into the den. I would say my favorite rooms in the house are the living room, because we get a lot of natural light in here, and it really reflects off of all of the blues and whites and creams that I have placed in here. I would also say the dining room is just, it's the heartbeat of our home, as well as the kitchen. So I would say those three rooms are my favorite because this is where we host. I have a huge passion for hosting, a huge passion to make everybody feel when they walk through our doors that they're loved and seen and celebrated. And so this is where we get to love on people, is really in these three rooms. We cook them meals and we talk with them, we pray with them, and this is how we build our community. And this is what we have a real passion for. And so in these three rooms is really just the heart of our home.
Yeah, and I would say mine, maybe a little weird, but is the guest bathroom, because every time people come over, they're like, wow, this is a great room. And it's like the only room that has, you know, it's much more moody, a different color than everything else in the house. And yeah, I just love the interactions. People are like, wow, that was such a great experience going to your bathrooms.
Yeah. We call that our pack-a-punch bathroom because it's very different from the rest of the house, and it is very Polo inspired. Polo, Ralph Lauren. We've had a lot of people say, I feel like I just got back from the Polo Lounge in New York City. And I think that's the best compliment ever, so we just eat that up. So this is our den/gentleman's room. So this was an added on part of the house whenever we bought it. And we were thinking when we bought it, what are we gonna put in here? What is this for? Most of the time, I just clear all this out and make this our party room. This is where I throw my showers, and I normally have a really long table in here where we eat and we just have events, and it's very fun because the ceilings are so high. So instead, when we're not throwing parties, we make this our sitting room or our reading room. Eventually it will be a library, but for now, it is just a fun room. It's very moody in here, and we have a potbelly stove that is original to the house that when the winter time comes in South Alabama, not very often, or we kind of have wimpy winters here, but when the winter does come, this thing will heat up the entire house against this brick. It will kind of bake the house. So we find this very cozy.
I'm sort of into anything outdoors. I love to duck hunt. I love to fish. I love to deer hunt. I've kind of grown up doing all of it. So when Chance said, hey, there might be a wall you can have in this house, I was like, okay, I'll take it. So yeah, these are just some trophies from years past, some ducks, some deer, biggest fish, biggest bass to date. So it's kind of cool that she's, you know, kind of included this room, included me in this room.
Another thing we love is this true antique couch that was kind of gifted to us off of Facebook Marketplace from a sweet lady named Julia Lake. She owns the clubhouse here in Fairhope, and she is a designer, and she was just getting rid of this couch, and she gifted it to us for free. And it's very comfortable. It's not stiff in the slightest. And it has these very loud colors with greens, yellows, and a little bit of purple. It's kind of like Mobile Mardi Gras in a way. And we love it. It's very well kept and very comfortable. If I'm upstairs watching a show and Si would rather read, he'll come down here and he'll read and have his time. And so this is the piece that we needed for this room to make it feel complete. And so I'm very excited that we snagged this whenever we did. Right place, right time. So I love this couch. One thing that we did to pull out the green in this couch was put in these grand hunter green curtains, and we took them to the ceiling. It's probably my number one design ick is when curtains don't go to the ceiling. You've got to take them up. You've got to take them high. Make that room feel big. So I love these. We put these on either window, doubled them up, of course, and these were from Amazon. So we have loved these. They block light as well, and they just add to that kind of hunter-esque that Si is, and I think that's really great. One last thing in this room that I'll show you are these totally unnecessary, but they work, zebra chairs. I picked these up also from Emmy's thrift store in Fairhope, and I think that they're so fun. Si hasn't hunted any African animals, but I think that it's so fun. Animal print to me never goes out of style, and I think that it was just 2 chairs that we needed, and they were a little loud and they were a little obnoxious, but why not have some zebra chairs in your den? You know, it's okay. And lastly is this bar cart that I got off of Marketplace, shocker. It's a globe, and this is going to be fully stocked soon, but we love it. It's very masculine. It has that dark wood, and it has just really spruced up this corner that we have here, and so I love it. You'll be so shocked if you give Marketplace a chance. We really enjoy this little corner, this bar cart, and we put it to use. I moved from Dallas to Mobile, Alabama, where we both attended the University of South Alabama, and we are college sweethearts, and we have been married for coming up, it'll be 3 years in January, so we're right at 2.5 years, and we got married at the Alana in Dallas, Texas. That was my dream venue, and it was just a lovely day, and marriage has been so much fun, and I am just really thankful for this season of life that we're in. I would say we're building our life right now, and it's just grit is our word of the year. We talked about that the other day, how this is just a season of life where we're working hard for the things that we want, and it's just been a really rewarding season.
Yeah, so our story of how we met, let's see. We were at a sanctioned event for South Alabama, and I saw her and I was like, hot dog, I gotta know who that is. So, long story short, I did, and then, yeah, she pushed me off for like 6 weeks, and finally let me get her number, and then, yeah, a couple years later, yeah, we got engaged, and here we are, and joined our families, and her family's moved over here, and yeah, we just, you know, making friends and living life together, so.
Yeah, we don't have children yet, so we are just trying to travel as much as we can and just make the most of these early years in our marriage, and it has been really fun and very rewarding and a lot of work, so we're very thankful. When we purchased this house, we knew it was going to be a really big undertaking. And when we were doing our walkthrough, this bathroom was doused in pink tile. It had pink tile on the floors. There was a Pepto pink shower. I think there may have even been a pink toilet, definitely a pink seat, but it was a 60s time capsule. And we turned it into this. We wanted to have a lot of fun, in this room, I wanted to really play off of my Ralph Lauren inspiration. It's very small in here, so I had to really maximize my space. We put in, of course, a black and white checkered floor to really just liven up this space. It was painted in a hunter green by Behr that adds just such a depth to this room and makes it feel quite grand. We put in crown molding, and I just began to collect pieces that were inspired by Ralph Lauren. So I grabbed this from an antique store. This is a pretty big fox hunt picture that I got, and it's called Run to Earth. It's big, it covers almost this entire wall, and I just love to look at it. I think it's so cool, and the red in it kind of adds just another color that is not really in this room. So I love this piece. Next, I grabbed this mirror from Facebook Marketplace. I thought that it was very, very ornate, and it fit perfectly in between those two sconces that we purchased from Amazon. This vanity is from Lowe's, and I wanted to have like kind of a white oak vanity against the marble. I think that that natural and cold tile, it just looks well. It meshes well to me, and I've really enjoyed it. Another thing on this vanity that I think is so much fun is this antique faucet. It is so pretty. It's the polished nickel. All of our faucets and light fixtures came from Amazon, and an Amazon hack is, even if it says that it's been used, it's really just most of the time open box. And so we got this one pre-used, which was just open box at a discount, and it fits beautifully in this space. So I love that. Here is another print that I got from Etsy. It is just a black and white image of a polo match that I think is very chic, very, very cool. And here is my prized possession in this bathroom. We took our shower curtain to the ceiling, and I took this back to Susan at the Monogram Mercantile and told her that I wanted for her to do our wedding crest on this shower curtain. And she did it in like a week, and it is so fun. It is a great way for us to use this crest, not only on our wedding invitations, but other places as well. And it's very unexpected. Kind of an unexpected area that we get to have a special moment, and we get to elevate this tiny little room. And so this is also one of my favorite rooms in the house as well. So this is our guest bathroom. So one thing that I found at the Daphne Antique Galleria was this cute little bell. And when we have company over, we ring this to let our guests know that breakfast is ready. And it's so cute. I think it's so much fun. And it makes our guests feel like they're staying at a hotel or staying somewhere fun. And it's been very fun for Si and I to use. And he'll ring it for me when my coffee's ready too, which is a plus. So I do love that. Now taking you into our guest room. So because we live on the Eastern Shore, we have a lot of coastal influence in our design. So I love all white bedding. It's very versatile and can go with every season, and it's very forgiving in that way. I also love to have towels ready for my guests. That way they don't have to worry, they don't have to ask for anything. One of my favorite pieces in here has to be this oyster shell mirror that I acquired from Marketplace. It was handmade, and I think that it looks so pretty. It pulls out the gray in the headboard, and I think it's just such a cool piece, very coastal. And I love oysters, especially living close by the bay. So we love that. One more thing in here, we decided to keep our rooms pretty not overpopulated with things. We wanted it to be a little bit of a break, a little easy to breathe, and you know, one thing that I love is this champagne chiller that I got from Home Goods. It's just a big shell, and I always have champagne in here for my guests, or if they don't drink, I'll have sparkling water or just some kind of goodie for them. And this is one little thing that I just really love If you were into design and homemaking and all of that, there's always those few little details that you just love and makes your heart come alive. And this is just a small little detail. I love having napkins. I love collecting napkins. Home Goods, fantastic napkin selection. So this is a part of our guest room that I really love, and I want for our guests to feel as if they're at the Carter Hotel, and I want them to feel just grand. I want them to feel loved. And this is just small ways that I can be intentional and show them that through the folding of the linens, through the laying out of wine, and just giving them a safe space where they can just relax and not feel pressure is very, very important to Sai and I together. Now let's go to the primary bedroom and bathroom. As we're making our way down the hallway, this is a portrait that I actually painted myself. The colors don't really go with my color scheme of the house, but it means a lot to me. I've named it Consider the Wildflowers after that verse in the Bible that talks about considering the wildflowers and how they're dressed and not to be anxious about anything. And this is a piece that means a lot to me. Even though it doesn't really make sense with the rest of my house, it reminds me that I don't need to be anxious and I just need to trust in the Lord. And that's one thing that I have really held fast to. Now, I want you to also get an image of your mind of a completely tealed out bathroom. Teal tile, teal toilet, teal bathtub. That is what we were working with until we turned it into a white marble primary bathroom. It's also a very, very small space, so we've had to max it out, but I think we did a great job when we flipped it. It's been very, very fun in here. One thing that I am very excited to show you is my swan faucet. I have named her Georgina because she's fabulous. And I have a matching picture of her that I got from Amazon. It was pre-framed actually, and I thought that it just worked great in this space. This is where I get ready. This swan faucet makes me feel like I'm in a castle in my own delusional mind. So I have loved this faucet, and I told Sai, no matter where we go, we're gonna either buy another one of her or we're taking her with us because I love it that much. One fear that I had was mixing metals in this bathroom, but I just decided to kind of go for it. We have obviously our gold swan, we have our gold sconces, and then in the actual shower, we have just chrome. And I think that it works well. It kind of breaks it up. It's a mix of modern and antique and old, and I think that it just blends very well together. So we put the shower in ourselves. Sai did it. I helped him hold up the pieces, and we put this thing together. And I have really loved this small bathroom. It hasn't been a frustrating place to be because it's so light and airy, and we've just maximized our space. And we just kind of pretend like we're in like a New York style apartment where we have to maximize our space. So it's been a great place for us to be. And it's been really fun to design as well. If you want to add one really special detail to your guest room, you can add 2 robes. This is what we have done. We had 2 white robes monogrammed with an S and a C for Sai and Chanley. And I believe it really gives it that hotel feel. And that's what we want for our guests to experience. Susan Fitzhugh did this for us as well at Monogram Mercantile. She's done so much for me, and I have just loved her work. And I want to just have these in every room, to be honest with you. We're gonna have some more made soon, but for this room, I think they're perfect. And I want for our guests to feel luxurious, and this is one way that they can. And for our light fixture in this hallway, we chose this beautiful piece from Amazon that was very affordable, and it looks quite designer if you ask me. And so it really lights up this space, and I love how it reflects through those glass pieces, and it looks very grand. And it kind of gives a little bit of a coastal flair as well. Come with me into the primary bedroom. So in here, we don't have that much space to work with. So it's very simple, but we've had to make it as grand as we can. So these toile curtains were gifted to me from a lovely PA that I work with. She said she had these back in the 80s. So they're and they were old then, is what she had said. So even though it is a major design ick of mine when curtains don't go to the ceiling, these were too short to go to the ceiling, and I didn't have the time to have them extended. So I had to just make do. But I think that surprisingly it works in this room because it's already so small in here. With these curtains being a little bit lower, it makes it a little more cozy in here as well. We have a matching quilt on our bed as well, just the same blue toile that never goes out of style. Very, very southern and very safe. And I like that. In a bedroom, I like a little bit of safe. Very easy for us to turn off the stimulation of the rest of our house. So we love this bedroom. One thing that I found that I loved were these lamps. I got these lamps from Walmart of all places, and I think that they look very high end. And they're kind of shockingly fun, the iron pleated lamps, and I think that they just add a little pizzazz to our tiny little room. I also have this picture up here of quails. I acquired this piece from the at-home store in Mobile, and it was like 60 bucks, and I think that it went perfectly over our bed. And this is an original antique right here. This was Si's great-grandma's bed frame, and we have kept it in the family and will continue to keep it in the family. It's very old, still has the stain, and I think that it's very cool that it's now ours, and we'll pass it down to our children. I love this piece. Home to me is a place where you can be authentically yourself, where you can be fearless in your design choices. That was the best piece of advice I ever received when I was just studying design on my own, reading coffee table books, just reading design books, and just studying something that I love, which is interiors. And I think our house is a reflection of who we are. We try to be fearless in a lot of things. We try to be bold in our personalities and authentic to who we are. We try not to be anybody else but ourselves. And so home to me is a place where we can host people, where we can love on people, where we can grow our family, and it's a place of peace as well. I am acutely aware that it is up to me to create memories for my family. And I think that our home, it's important that it's a sanctuary for us to make memories, and it's comfortable, and it's not too stuffy. And that is home to me, as a place where we can make memories, and we can laugh, and we can move, but it still be an elevated space. My mom always says, we want to elevate the ordinary, Chandley. We want to elevate the ordinary. And so that's one thing that I have really tried to bring into our marriage, into our life, is to elevate the everyday things. And that is what home means to me.
And home to me is just being with Chandley. It doesn't matter. It is. It doesn't matter where. It doesn't. The house is beautiful. I love this house. I love our home. But it doesn't matter where we are. As long as we're together, and as long as we're healthy, we're safe, and we're blessed. That it doesn't matter where we are. So, home is the people you surround yourself with in your family.
That's a good answer.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.